made that mistake last year.
Okay, tell me a little bit about what kind of plans you have for Murray.
Can you be
I asked the same question.
more
Les.
specific?
Yeah. Do you plan on playing him with Calicula a lot, or do you plan on switching those guys, or just how do you, what do you foresee for him?
Well, we played them a lot together the other day. I think it depends. I mean, there'll be times where, you know, we'll play Kevin a little bit more with Dennis. We can play, you know, I think we can play Eric, because Eric can score a little bit better than Kevin and Dom can. I think it's going to depend on situations and, you know, who the matchups are.
Do you foresee Murray as an offensive or a defensive? I mean, mostly.
Hopefully both. You know, he's not real comfortable right now because we're moving him around and he's on the perimeter and he's never really been on the perimeter much. But he's getting better. I think he's getting better. He's understanding better. You know, defensively, he gives us somebody around the goal, which we haven't had. There's been times where people got offensive rebounds, and we just didn't really have anybody to challenge the second or the third one, and he can do that. So, I mean, I think he's going to help us at both ends of the floor. He's capable of passing the ball pretty well. Just doesn't, you know, right now there's so many things going on, he doesn't know where to look. But I think once he figures out, you know, what the first look is and then the second look, I think he'll be able to pass it pretty well.
Coach, one guy that hasn't been mentioned a lot is Rutledge. Is that a good thing, bad thing? I mean, is he a guy who can, you know, he had spurts last year. Can he help you out this year?
I think in a lot of instances, Dom will be our best rebounder. And he's better, he's way better. I think he's so much more comfortable. When you play faster, you know, we're not, you know, but there were a lot of times last year we had to wait for Dennis to get down the floor. And we don't want to do that.
Right.
So having those guys, and you know, if we can get Voldy ready, you know, by the time he gets eligible, then we're going to have 5 guys, which I think is good. But I think we can play harder. We should be able to run harder in transition. We ended up because of sheer numbers a year ago, particularly with our post guys, I think, where we were trying to save some energy, which we shouldn't have to do. Did that answer your question?
Mm-hmm.
You mentioned Boldy. Do you have a definitive report from the clearinghouse on him yet?
Do
I haven't heard.
That's a definite, we don't know.
Still expecting anything from potentially nothing to a few games?
I mean, I think most guys would come over and get something. It's just by the way things are structured there.
You had to change your coaching style a little bit coming over here when inheriting a different kind of players than you'd had. And, I mean, you kind of kept it for 4 or 5 years that way. Do you feel now more comfortable, or have you gone, are you incorporating both, or
But we're still not near as athletic. You know, we still don't have the foot speed that we had before. But we're going to try. You know, I think that it really helps when you can do different things. You know, I think in 2010, I think the 1-3-1, I think was good. You know, because it was something else. I think one for people to prepare for, and it's different. And so we're going to try to continue to do some different things. I think probably the more people you have, I think the more you can do. And guys are good at different things. We just don't have the same kind of foot speed we had. But we're bigger, we're longer than what we've been.
Coach, is it a good thing or a bad thing that, you know, you try to put this team together and your first game, you got to take them across the country, play at midnight against a team who, you know, won by 20-something against you guys last year? Is this a good challenge for this team, or would you kind of rather have, you know, maybe those one or two gimme games, so to speak, to put things together?
Well, I mean, I think in a perfect world, we'd have been better off if we could have maybe played some people where you can kind of, you know, coach some guys against other people. You know, I think the Xavier scrimmage was good for us. And, you know, I don't know how much, you know, the Glenville game will force us to do some things. But I would rather have had a game there, but it didn't work out that way. You know, and we 2002, I think it was, they talked me into going to Oklahoma State to open up Gallagher Arena, the new Gallagher Arena, and we lost, and we went on and won 20 or 21 in a row, whatever it was. And that helped us. You know, I think that helped us. I think when you lose like that, I think sometimes it's a little easier to define roles. But in a perfect world, I just assumed we had a game before.
Could this bunch make that trip right now, go play Gonzaga right now, do you think?
We don't have a choice, do we?
Well, you have a whole another week or so to prepare. I mean, I'm saying if you had to play them tonight or tomorrow, could you?
Tonight or tomorrow?
Yeah, we could.
I'd rather not.
Yeah.
But we're better. I mean, we're obviously we're a lot better. Guys are a lot more comfortable. I think some of the guys we've added give us some weapons that we didn't have before. You know, we have a true point guard. I think Staten is a true point guard. He's been a point guard all his life, where Jabari wasn't, Gary wasn't. But in saying that, you know, those guys played point a year ago, so it gives us more people capable of handling the ball.
Xavier, that was your scrimmage this year? Xavier was the scrimmage?
Yeah.
Everything go pretty well on that?
I don't know. I don't know what I'm allowed to say.
Let me ask you this about that. I mean, you coached at Cincinnati. Xavier was your most bitter rival. How did that come about that you of all people wound up scrimmaging them?
Well, you know, I think when it was really a rival was when Pete was there. You know, Skip and I were very, very dear friends and shared a lot of things. Thad and I are very good friends. I mean, I think you saw that with the series we did a couple of years ago. It was probably, honestly, wasn't as bad as people thought. You know, Pete and I had a disagreement, but
Yeah.
we're both adults. We're both over that. But I think that's when it kind of got to where
Didn't get as bad as it was last year, I guess.
no.
Coach, how much has Ronnie brought to you guys in terms of everything in practice so far? What he's been able to work with the guys on, and what have you seen that doing for these players?
Look, Ronnie's terrific, he brings some different ideas, some different ways of doing things, and although I think the majority of what they did is a lot, philosophically, a lot of the same things that we try to do. He's a really good teacher. I think that's the biggest thing with him, and I don't think you'll find another Division I program in the country that has 3 former head coaches on their staff. And I've been very fortunate. Larry's done an unbelievable job for us, and Ronnie will do the same. And Billy's been invaluable, with contacts and people, and then Eric haven't played for me, so. And then Dave being the GA. We've got a whole bunch of people I think that are very comfortable with the way we do things.
Well, you mentioned Juwan at the point. Are Jabari and Gary having to learn to play off the ball a little bit more? They've done it in the past, but not as much last year. You have to sort of retrain them.
We would play both of those guys together a lot last year, so they were kind of on and off the ball. It helps us because you got more than one guy that you trust with the ball. I mean, really, when you think about it, when I first got here, it was Darius, and Darius played just a ton of minutes, and Joe had no idea how to play point guard, and then as Joe started to learn and learned a lot from Darius, and learned a lot through experience, so then we were going to bring Truck along. Well, then Joe got hurt, so now we have to throw Truck in the fire. We had no backup, really. I mean, if you think about it, Day was my backup point guard.
Mm-hmm.
And then, fortunately for us, when Truck broke his foot, Joe was just really starting to come back. And so, but then still we had one. I mean, if you watch the end of the Kentucky game after Joe fouled out, it was just, it was awful. We've got Devin and Day bringing the ball to the floor. And then a year ago, all those guys were freshmen. We had to get Truck off the ball. So, this is the first time that we've actually had more than one guy who can actually dribble more than a couple times. It's kind of refreshing, actually.
Coach, what did you see from Matt Humphrey when you watched the film of him at BC, and I guess maybe even going back to Oregon, that made you think he was a guy who could come in and contribute in only 1 year here, obviously?
I think the biggest thing was he kind of understands how to play. I mean, obviously he has to get used to the way we play. We play a little bit different defensively than what a lot of people play. And so he's learning that. But you throw him out there, and there's a lot of things happen in motion. It's pretty complicated, really. I mean, for everything you do, there's 3 or 4 different options that you can have, which is why I think we got so good in 2010, because it's just, there were so many things going on. It's hard to guard. It's very hard to scout. And he has really picked that up very quickly because he understands how to play. I think that's the biggest thing. He understands how to play, and then he's arguably one of our, he may be our best perimeter shooter. If he's not, he's in the top 2 or 3. So now you got a 6'5", 6'6" guy that can make shots, which, if you think about who we played in that position before, we struggled to make shots, and so they don't guard them. So he spreads the floor